Welcome to a brand new episode of Johnson's Court. Today, I am super excited to be with you guys all at a new angle, at a different place. You know, sometimes you just gotta mix it up because why not, right? But hey, guys, it's week 12. It's, a fascinating week because a lot of things are happening in the NFL where, we're getting closer to, locking up divisions. We're getting closer to teams being eliminated from the playoffs, and we're getting closer to teams maybe potentially locking up a playoff spot. Maybe it just kind of depends on, how good their record is. But this is like the early stages of that, which is really, really cool. But to kind of get into it, I will just let you guys know last week, Beagle and Nick both went 11-4, so bumping up the records, and I went 9-6. So honestly, looking at like who's in first, second, and third, the order might have changed by now. I really don't know, but it's gonna be fun when it comes down to the end to see where we are. But I'm going to do this kind of fast this week just because I'm a little bit on a time crunch here. But you guys will all hear my picks, Beagle's picks, and Nick's picks. So we'll get into it. So the first matchup is the Bills versus the Texans on Thursday Night Football. Now, personally, I think the Bills are going to get this one done because they are just a better team. And like I said, that is my Super Bowl pick this year. Nick is going the Bills, and so is Beagle. And then we get into our 1 o'clock, and, I think this is a good slate of football games this week. For example, our first 1 o'clock of the game, where all eyes are going to be, on this 1 o'clock game, is the Colts playing at the Chiefs. Colts have a lot of potential. This is a big statement game for the Colts, but it's also a big statement game for the Chiefs if they can get this win, because right now they're out of the playoffs at 5-5, and the Colts are the second or third seed with them having the bye week last week, so they're not the number one seed anymore. But, things can change. Things can happen where maybe they're back at the number one seed. It is an away game for the Colts, but I think the Colts get this done. And I just don't think that this year is the year of the Chiefs. Nick thinks the Colts are going to win, and so does Beagle. Our next game is the Seahawks and the Titans. Not really too much to say here. The Titans are just the worst team in the football league this year. And I believe the Seahawks are going to get this done on the road. Should be pretty easy for them. Nick thinks the same thing, and so does Beagle. Then you got NFC North Showdown. It's the Vikings playing at the Green Bay Packers. When it's a divisional game, it's always a coin flip sometimes. Just like when the Colts play the Jaguars. For some reason, the Jaguars always have the Colts number. They always get at least one win. Whether it's, when they play them twice, they get 1 out of 2 at least. So sometimes that's here with the, Vikings, Packers, with every division that I was basically saying. It is a home game for the Packers, so you know what? Give me the Packers on this one. Nick is going the Packers, and Beagle is going the Packers as well. Then you got the Jets and the Ravens, who Justin Fields just got benched. Tyrod Taylor will take his place. But it's the Ravens. It's at home for the Ravens. They should be able to get this win pretty easy. Nick is going the Ravens, and so is Beagle. Then at 1 o'clock, you got the Giants and the Lions. Reportedly, Sam Laporta has a back injury, was placed in IR, had season-ending surgery, and they will not be without their starting tight end. That is huge, huge news. But I still don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to hurt them enough to not get the win versus the Giants, and so give me the Lions. Now, if the Giants had all their players still, and they didn't have injuries, then I might pick the Giants here. But I'm going to pick the Lions. So is Nick, and so is Beagle. Then you've got the Steelers playing at the Bears. I feel like this is a very coin flip game, as the Steelers, you never know what you're going to get with them. And the Bears have actually been pretty good. I just personally don't think the Bears will make the playoffs, but I don't believe that they will make the Super Bowl this year, but I think they'll make the playoffs. And I think they're going to win because Aaron Rodgers is kind of beat up a little bit. He's got a wrist injury. He doesn't need surgery, but it's still pretty bad, even though it's on his left wrist. It's a home game for the Bears, so give me the Bears at the Windy City. Nick is going Bears, and obviously we know so is Beagle. So first time I think we all agree on the Bears are going to win this game. Then you got the Patriots and the Bengals. If Joe Burrow doesn't play this week, then the Patriots are going to win this game. Let me see. No, so they're not activating him. So give me the Patriots over the Bengals, unfortunately. Nick thanks the Patriots, and so does Beagle. Our next pick here is, I'll tell you here in a second. the Browns versus the Raiders. Honestly, this is Shedeur Sanders' first start, and I think he gets a win. I think this will be a good start for him to be able to get a win. Now, Max Crosby's going to be all over him, so he's got to be ready for that, but I think that Shedeur Sanders can get the win in his debut for the Browns. Like, a starting debut, actually start to finish, because the last time he debuted, but it was after Dylan Gabriel went out with a concussion. Then you've got the Jaguars and the Cardinals. Jacoby Brissett is actually playing pretty well. The Jaguars are playing pretty well. They're the number one team, they're not the number one team in takeaways. The Texans are. But the Jaguars are actually playing pretty well. This is a toss-up game for me. Personally, I think the Jaguars are going to get this done. Let's see. Nick thinks the Jaguars are going to get it done, and Beagle thinks the Jags are going to get it done as well. Your 4:25, 4 o'clock game of the week is the Eagles versus the Cowboys. Even with the Cowboys, starting to take strides and steps, I think the Eagles do get this done. Even though it's a road game for the Eagles, I think the Eagles get it done. Nick thinks the Eagles are going to get done, but Beagle thinks the Cowboys can get it done at home. Then you've got the Falcons and the Saints. Yes, Michael Penix Jr. is now out for the year with a torn ACL, but I don't think that matters. Wow, that dude was wide open. I'm watching college football here. I still think the Falcons can get it done over the Saints. So give me the Falcons. Beagle's going with the Saints, and Nick is going with the Falcons. So pretty upsetting pick there if the Saints can get this win. Then your 8:20 game of the week on Sunday Night Football is the Buccaneers and the Rams. I like this game a lot. Both teams are still hot. The Bucs played, really well last week, even though they lost to the Bills. The Rams are playing really well. It's a home game for the Rams, and I think the Rams are a better team, so give me the Rams. Nick thinks so, and so does Beagle, so we all agree on Sunday night. On Monday night, we're more than likely all going to agree here as well. It's the Panthers playing the 49ers. There's not too much to say about this. I don't know really why the Panthers are getting a Monday night game, but the NFL is giving it to them, but they're going to get pretty embarrassed. So give me the 49ers to win. Nick thinks that, and so does Beagle. So like I said, that was a pretty easy Monday night game to decide there. But it's going to be fun. Like I said, this week we'll start to eliminate some teams from the playoff. This will start to potentially maybe lock up some divisional winners, maybe, pretty close to it, and may lock up some playoff spot. Maybe whether that's maybe 2 or 3, not necessarily number 1, but 2 or 3 or something in there. So that's pretty cool to see, ladies and gentlemen. But we'll just see what happens this week. I could be right, I could be wrong. Maybe all teams still stay in playoff contention. I don't know, but it'll be fun. But when I see you next week, it'll be week 13, 1 week closer to ending the season and, locking up more playoff spots. So obviously, I'll let you know if any teams are eliminated from the playoffs, if any teams locked it up after this week. It'll be fun. Something fun to discuss going forward, because that's when, you really get to see who's the resting players, who's starting players, and we're getting closer to not having any more bye weeks as well. So that'll be fun, to see if we can guess all the games and all the winners, because nobody is perfect yet so far this season. So we'll see if that can happen. But other than that, I'm signing off, and I'll see you guys all next week.